Welcome to the TOCA Backstage podcast. Join TOCA's Executive Director, Chris Wolf, in conversations with the artists and people behind the scenes of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation's performances and events.
Okay. Hi, this is Chris Wolf, Executive Director of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation. It is my pleasure and honor to have Oisín from Irish Christmas in America, which is coming up on December 5th, Friday at 8 p.m. at the Armstrong Theatre. Oisín, thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely my pleasure, Chris. Great to see you again.
And you're home now, so you're in Ireland. What time is it there?
Yeah, this is what we call the Irish summer, which is, as I look outside, not particularly summer-like for you Californians, but it's late in the evening now. I'm just back from the beach, our local beach, and it's 7:30 p.m. Here, but it's pretty grey and windy. It feels like there's a storm on the way.
Oh, well, I have to tell you, for those who don't know, we've had Irish Christmas in America for several years, and then last year we missed the boat, and I wasn't able to get it. And boy, did I hear about it. Our patrons were like, "This was our annual thing." So I want to thank you guys for making the trip out again. I'm curious, where did the idea of this show come from?
The idea came kind of early on in my touring life, which started with the band TOCA, an Irish word spelled T-E-A-D-A, and we're celebrating 25 years next year with TOCA in 2026. But a couple of years into touring with TOCA, I happened to one Christmas season be invited to join with an Irish harp orchestra tour of Germany and the Netherlands. And in fact, I was one of the musicians on the tour was Grania Hambly, who went on to join us in Irish Christmas in America. Anyhow, it was a great time, and I really loved the atmosphere of touring around Christmas time, and just how you can imagine how beautiful those German towns and cities were, and Netherlands with their Christmas markets. And I just fell in love with the whole idea of being on touring and talking about Christmas and getting into the Christmas spirit. So I thought, hey, we're spending a lot of time in America. We tend to be there for the hot, humid summer festivals. Why not try something at Christmas time? So I put together Irish Christmas in America and invited Grania to come in to the fold with us. So that was the start in 2005. So it'll be 20 years this year.
Wow. And I do recall one year you had to go straight from the Armstrong Theatre to the airport to get a flight that was going, I think, like to the Midwest. Is traveling like a real issue for you during this time, or is it pretty simple?
Not simple, no. It's probably one of the bits in terms of the organizing of it that takes a bit of time, because it's a jam-packed tour, and the Christmas season being kind of condensed into a few weeks puts pressure, well, good pressure really, but it puts a certain amount of pressure to get around to all the places that we want to get around. And of course, we have lots of favorite stops along the way, including Torrance, and we want to kind of pack them all in. Sometimes that's nice and easy to do, and sometimes it involves some crazy flying. But I have to say, all in all, I am very, very thankful for the great transportation system you all have in America, particularly the airline industry. I know it gets a hard press sometimes when things fail, but most of the time it's really, really, really good and gets us there very quickly and efficiently. So we're quite lucky and thankful. We've had a couple of close shaves, and we've missed one show over the last 20 years, but hopefully our good luck continues.
Well, that's a pretty good record, 20 years and only missing one show. I recall one time I was at another venue and We had a bluegrass group that literally came from the airport, grabbed their instrument, dropped off their luggage, grabbed their instruments, and walked on stage because they cut it so close. But you guys, we always love having you there here, and it's just going to be amazing. But I'm curious. In the past, you've had different guests. Please tell me your lovely wife Samantha is joining you.
She absolutely is. Yeah,
Awesome.
she's going to be with us again this year, and we'll have the amazing Gráinne Hambley back on harp as well. And yeah, look, we've developed, I suppose, a core group, and then there's little changes from year to year is kind of typically how it works out within the show. But we will have some surprises in terms of vocals this year. We'll be changing things up a little bit, so that'll be exciting. And stay tuned for news on that one.
I can't wait. I can't wait to find out who that is. Because we've always enjoyed your vocalists that you bring. They have always been amazing. And the show is so I don't know, it's heartwarming. You kind of walk away feeling just the holiday spirit. What would you say is the biggest difference between an Irish Christmas and an American Christmas?
I think the build up to Christmas is quite similar, really, in both places, and that's one of the reasons I think the show works very well in America, because Americans do celebrate Christmas in quite a concise way in comparison to how we do in Ireland. But the build up is similarly kind of drawn out and quite beautiful and exciting. It's, I suppose it's like anything. The anticipation an event that you're looking forward to is generally as much fun as the event itself, and that tends to be the case with Christmas. Everywhere is a little bit different. Things seem to move a little bit slower, apart from the shopping. But whatever it is about the nice lighting of Christmas, and I think people are in a little bit more of a social form than they are at other busier times, and make time for family and friends. So we share that in common. That's we found that in America, people are in particularly, I think, good form and in social form. And I love to see sometimes even before the shows, if we happen to be eating grabbing some dinner beside the show in the theatre or in a restaurant beside, it's lovely to see people that are actually coming out and making a night of it with friends and family, and having a nice catch up over meal or drinks, and then they come in and enjoy the show, and we might even see them after the show as well. And I suppose it's just making time for people, and people do that around Christmas, both in Ireland and America, and that's very special.
And there was an Irish or a Christmas cake or something that is
Ooh,
traditional in
definitely.
Ireland.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. We have a traditional cake that people make, and it's one of those kind of cakes that has a lot of ingredients, and it's very rich, and it has some lovely alcohol thrown in the mix. And the idea is that you make it well in advance of Christmas, and for a lot of people, that's kind of how they start getting into the Christmas mood, is buying the ingredients for the cake, making the cake, and then you have it sitting there waiting for Christmas Day, and letting all those beautiful dried fruits and alcohol mix together, and it'll be quite tasty by the time, if you can resist touching it before Christmas. And it's always a treat. We have a Christmas pudding as well, which is another dessert, again with lots of spices and fruits, and a little bit of whiskey as well. And then you pour a little bit of drink on top, and light it, and it's quite festive.
Sounds amazing. Um, so I was when we first started booking your shows, I was unaware that you're kind of like I don't know, almost like a musical superstar in Ireland. Um, Anyone I've ever talked to seems to know who you are and has wonderful things to say about you. Where did you get started?
It started when I was a kid actually. I grew up in a small village in County Clare, which is on the west coast of Ireland, and there was when I was 5, my parents sent me along to the local music class, and that's, I suppose, one of the ways that music has kind of successfully been maintained and developed in Ireland is just the accessibility of learning music um, over the years. So when I was younger, I was sent along to a local music class organised by a cultural organisation called Coltus in Ireland. So they've done great work over the years in making music accessible to people. So it was very inexpensive to learn. It was just over the field to go there. So that was the start. But I suppose, I probably wouldn't have ended up there if my mother wasn't interested in music, and she was. She didn't play herself, but she was very interested in the music and loved listening to it. So, she pushed us along to the class and got us started. So, it always helps having that little bit of support and encouragement at home, and it just developed into a lifelong thing for me. Quite a surprise. It's very hard to look down the future, but I got very interested in it as a child, and competing in competitions and playing in sessions with older players and people of my own age. And then I think in my later teenage years, I started to make a lot of friends that were also musicians, and had a lot of great times at some of the music events and festivals around Ireland with them. And then it just ticks along. It's a very organic way, and it's a lovely mix in Ireland. I mean, yeah, there's people that have made great success of music and all that, but there's not much that separates them from people that are also playing great music and work other jobs. It's a very how would you say, it's a very diverse kind of community of full-time musicians like myself, but also loads of people who play this music and love it and work all sorts of different jobs and have all sorts of different backgrounds. So it's not one thing, it's many different things, and it's a kind of a lovely scene to be part of.
Well, I have noticed, I mean, the one time I was in Ireland, I went on a tour, and uh, you hear about the pubs where people gather and play. And it really is true. I walked down a street where there was like 4 different pubs, and in each one there were a group of people playing and singing and having a good time. How do you suspect that the Irish culture has embraced music so much, and how did that happen? Or I mean, just a guess, but I'd be curious to your thoughts.
Yeah, on a few different levels, I think. The initial well of the music, like where a lot of it came from, was definitely from rural parts of Ireland. So you're talking about maybe 100 years ago and beyond. People living in small communities, mostly working on the land, not having a lot of money, but having a little bit of time in the evening when the farm work was done, to socialize. So music was like the catalyst for bringing people together. This is before pubs. This is like people coming together in houses, barely big enough to make a little space in the kitchen for some musicians and some people to dance and just to hang out. So the music was a very natural part of that kind of lifestyle, that living for people. So it ended up in all the I suppose life events. It brought people together to pair up, I suppose, to meet other people, maybe to get married with other people, music for funerals and music for celebration, and it just kind of fitted into life. And same with songs, and the same with the dancing. So it was very integral. And then I suppose in the last 100 years, a lot of people have moved to cities. A lot of Irish people emigrated and brought that culture with them, and sometimes really hung on to it as as that last part of their identity, having moved, and really treasured it and taught it to their kids and grandkids, and kept going outside of Ireland, and in a lot of ways became quite an internationalized music because of that. And then in Ireland, people brought it to the cities, and so it's played in all sorts of different contexts now. Some of it organic, some of it organized. Now, some of it organized for people that want to listen to it, for tourists that want to listen to it in cities. So, and of course, people still play for the love of it without any kind of compensation, and also people are being compensated. So lots of different ways that people interact, and the same is true for me. I play professionally, but I also play a lot of music with friends that there's no money involved in. It's just for a good time. So it's half of a hobby, and also it happens to be part of my work as well.
Well, I have to imagine that. I mean, you've been. It has been such an integral part of your life that it must be something you definitely have a passion for, and that you want to. I mean, it's like talking to friends. It's like, if I ever retire, I'm not going to stop doing what I do. It's like theater and the performing arts is part of my life, and it's who I am. Subsequently, I imagine as a musician, like you said, it's who you are. Is that, where do you think the passion comes from?
I suppose when you're exposed to something, well, first of all, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what it is a passion. And I've even this summer I've had conversations with some great musicians that have been working other jobs, and maybe now they're coming into middle age or late middle age, and quite a few of them are thinking, I want to retire and play more music, and so that's what they're looking forward to after they finish up or they retire from the day job. But for me, I suppose, music it spans both really, because as Seamus Begley, who you know well, and one of my great musical heroes and just all around characters, and also kind of a touchstone from another era, a generation before mine. But as he used to obviously, you can't call it work. Playing music is not work. Playing music is a very enjoyable thing. So for me, in a lot of ways, the work for me is the organization of being a musician and all the other bits, and the travel and the time and all that. But playing music, even for an audience, it's not work. It's a very enjoyable thing. In some ways, that's the fun. And you put in, every musician, I think, who's playing full time, or every artist puts in a lot of work, whether that be on their skill, developing their skill, but sharing it with other people is, for most artists, I think, it's definitely the passion or the highlight. When it's going well, we all have nights when we're not happy with what we're playing or whatever, and it's you're kind of don't have the same thrill out of it, but it's a very enjoyable pursuit, which is why a lot of people want to do it. Even if it is a struggle, a lot of people want to do it.
Well, I'm sure that the music industries are different from Ireland to America, but I'm curious. One of the things that the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation does is we always encourage, or try to encourage, young artists. We give them performance opportunities. We help mentor them, and in some cases, as a touring professional internationally, what advice would you give to a young person who is interested in pursuing music as a career?
Yeah, it's advice is a funny thing, isn't it? Do any of us listen? Did I ever listen to advice? It's interesting. I suppose, Chris, like, the funny thing about advice is, when I look back, all I really have is my own experience. I've seen and talked to and met a lot of artists of all ages. But I suppose all we truly know is our own lives, and what drives it, and maybe the good fortune we've had and all that. But I think most people that set out in this world, particularly nowadays, because it's become maybe a little bit more organized than it had been a few decades ago. But I think more so than ever, younger artists are coming with that awareness of the challenges and what they got to do, even more than what my generation and previous generations do. So I think that's a good thing. First of all, there's a lot of smart, skilled people that are entering this area, and I think you need that. You need to find, it's quite an unstructured field. There's a lot of amazing things going on. It's sometimes hard to know, where am I going to fit in, or where can I aspire to fit into it. And part of any, I suppose, career journey is trying things and not being afraid of failure. I know that's easy to say. We're all afraid of failure, of course, but we've got to fight it and find the little things that we can do well, and keep trying to improve. That's a key thing as well. I think to exist in any area where you're working for yourself, you need to be quite self-sufficient. You need to be quite self-driven as well. You got to be courageous and brave. And anybody who doesn't make it in the arts should never feel bad. I think that's important. If it's not working for you, I think yourself, your sense of self is the most important thing, and you got to protect that. And if being an artist is too challenging for whatever reason, it could be financially, it could be time, it could be pressure. I think there's no shame in pressing the eject button and finding another way of being an artist. So I suppose flexibility. I'll go back to flexibility, not having one idea, make or break thing in your head, but just being willing to kind of feel it out, and if it's not working, to not be ashamed to kind of try something else or try something different.
Well, and it's like you said, you have a lot of people that and play with that aren't necessarily professional, but they have a talent, they enjoy, it's a passion for it. They do their day job, and then they go home and play music or act on. It's like community theater. There's tons of people who work a day job, and then they go home, and then they eat dinner, and they go to a rehearsal for a community theater production. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's always a way to be an artist without actually being a paid artist, I guess.
That's a very good parallel. Absolutely.
You mentioned Seamus. That was sad, his passing. He was a bigger than life person. We had the honor of having him on our stage a couple of times with you. What do you think he brought to the music that you guys played?
A lot. A very enjoyable person to be around. Also, just great to take in. As big a character as Seamus was, a lot of us transmit culture. Maybe we learn it, we assimilate it, and we perform it. But there are some larger than life characters, and I think when you're watching them, when you're being entertained by them, it's not just what they're playing or singing. It's them as a persona, as a character, and they're. Every scene needs a few of those kind of people, and Seamus was that big figure, the kind of big friendly giant in a way, and he was interesting too from the era that he came from, which is a different era from myself. In some ways, maybe closer to the generation of my own parents, and that, but. I just love the way Seamus could, he could mix with all ages. There was age was no barrier for Seamus. He was comfortable with touring with us, who were quite a bit younger than him, and he never made an issue of it. He was just a great people's person, and I think art for him, his singing, his music was truly just a way to connect with people, because he loved people. He loved, getting that fun out of people. He loved winding them up. He loved just watching people and figuring out what trick he could play in them. He just was interested in people, and I think that's where his artistic drive came from, more than sitting down and practicing a tune to perfect it. He wasn't a technician in that sense of being an artist. He had a great naturalness, and he was always learning. Actually, right to the end, he was always learning. But I think it all came out of him because he loved to entertain people, and he loved people, and that made him very special. And I think I knew that, but when he passed, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, just the amount of people that felt that connection to him. And you start to visualize, I mean, he was always on his phone texting away, and you kind of realize that guy was sitting beside me on long drives, and just the whole kind of incredible amount of people that he was staying connected with, even while traveling, and even though he wasn't born with a mobile, in a generation of mobile phones, but like he used all these things to stay connected to people at home, people all over the world. So that was very, very, very special. And it kind of, I suppose a lot of us are very busy, and it can be increasingly hard to make time for things, for people. We're all, carry around some of that guilt sometimes, because you're rushing around and trying to get things done, and occasionally it hits you, maybe I should have made more time for that person or this person. And Seamus was definitely one of those people that he made time for everybody. I don't know how he did it, but it was amazing.
Yeah, it was always it was one of those things where usually on a show night I'm busy scurrying around doing whatever, but I would always try to make sure that I was in the green room when you guys were there, because he was always going to be an entertainer. It was like, whether it was jokes or trying to steal beer out of the concession stand, whatever it was, he was always just so much fun. And subsequently, obviously, since he hasn't been with you, you guys are still wonderful to host. You guys are truly, I say this with all sincerity, some of the nicest people we have in the theater, and we're so glad that you're coming back in December.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's always such a warm and hospitable time with you all, and I know that you have been a passionate supporter of Irish and Celtic music for a long, long time, and we really do feel that and appreciate it very much.
Well, we will let you go. I know it's getting late. Just a reminder, it's Irish Christmas in America on December 5th at 8 o'clock. That's a Friday night. Tickets are available now. And please give my best to Samantha, your lovely wife, and we look forward to seeing her as well. And I can't wait to hear who your new vocalist will be this year.
All right, watch this space. Great to chat, Chris. See you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.